And then he dove deep into beekeeping, and he's president of the County Beekeeping Association and has a certification as a master beekeeper. And in his novel, A Swarm in May, he has woven both strands from medicine and beekeeping, and along with systemic racism, Little League Baseball, and he's given us a riveting medical mystery. So let's hear more from Dr. Powers. Welcome, Dr. Powers.
Well, thank you for having me, Ramona. I'm going to go ahead and share a screen also.
One of the most interesting parts of Dr. Power's book is he uses such medical terminology that it really teaches you a lot about medicine as well.
Well, it does give you a peek inside of an intensive care unit. This is the novel, and that's me with some of my hives. And these are websites that will take you to more information about the book and about me, and some videos that I've posted on there from the, including the book launch, where we have questions and answers and readings from a couple parts of the book if people are interested. So, as Ramona mentioned, I retired from Duke and had time to start writing some fiction, which I never thought I would do while I was working. And I found that writing has been a wonderful creative time, but in publishing, I find that that's a job. That's a business. So that's where I am right now with this book. Well, trying to advance here. Let's see. Okay. So this is me when I was at Duke, and that's one of the teams I was working on. You can see some young doctors, some medical students, and the protagonist in my novel is named Dr. Phineas Mann, and with him leading such a team in the intensive care unit. And he's taking care of some very sick patients. And the first one he meets in the first minutes as he comes on the service to take over this service for the month, he meets a patient who's doing this. It's an elderly man who hadn't seen a doctor in over 50 years, is unvaccinated, and has tetanus. And this is the kind of dangerous posturing, muscle spasms that occur with a tetanus attack, and his patient's doing that. So he and his team have to deal with this crisis before the patient injures himself, breaks bones, has difficulties breathing. And so this is his introduction to the service. Now, he knows from his education that tetanus can go on for weeks and weeks. And so he needs to work with this patient's family. And he learns that the patient's family is one son, that the patient only has one relative. And that son he meets later in the day and shakes his hand and learns that the son is an unapologetic and abusive racist who's already insulted the Black intern on the service and made it clear that he doesn't like them taking care of his daddy. So this is another problem that presents to Dr. Phineas Mann at the beginning of a long month. And then at the end, finally at this long day, he comes home and he finds that a swarm of bees has bivouacked on a potted plant on his deck. Now, one of the reasons this swarm of bees chose his deck is because Phineas Mann is also a beekeeper. When I started writing fiction, somebody gave me the advice, write what you know. And so there are bees in the novel. And so he has to deal with this swarm of bees after a long day of work. And these bees, and they come back and are they're one of the characters and have an important part in the novel as it goes on. So there are beekeeping lessons, there are scenes with active beekeeping going on in the novel. Now, Phineas has two children. One of them is a 12-year-old son who's straining at becoming independent as an adolescent. He also wants to be a beekeeper. He's a little league pitcher, and there are scenes of little league baseball in the novel. And so there are all this going on with his son over the month of May, as well as what's going on in the intensive care unit. Now, if that isn't enough, his very sick patient starts having puzzling complications that they can't explain. And at this point, it comes out that Phineas has a past, and it's a dark past, and that past comes back to haunt him here. And so there's a mystery that needs to be solved. The fact that the elderly man is having more problems infuriates the son. His level of threats and abuse of the team escalates to the point where Phineas feels that he needs to protect his team, protect his family. And everybody's seen these kind of workplace things, and this is what's happening with him. So I'm going to leave the storytelling right now and hope that you'll want to know more about the book. And again, it can be ordered on Amazon. It's on Ingram Spark now, so that if you have a favorite bookstore, you can ask them to order it for you. And if you want to read more about the book and about me, these two websites will take you there.
Wow. I'll just step in here. Mark, I mean, amazing. There are quite a few layers to this book. I was trying to absorb them, and as you described them, and trying to articulate honestly. Phineas is the real person in your life in the lab. Is that right? Is that correct?
No, Phineas, this is all fiction.
Oh, all fiction. Okay,
All
I
fiction,
saw the
yeah.
gentleman, the way you described him in your lab and the people there. I thought he was that person. But
No,
the way that you layer the element of beekeeping into the roles and your personal perspective, as well as into the book itself. And so that was quite amazing. And understanding. And was there a particular reason why you chose beekeeping as the conduit in the book? And because beekeeping is quite significant. I mean, and also if you could speak on, there was an attack on bees here in America. I think some illness that were infecting them. And if you could share that with us too, from an understanding point of view, because I mean, bees are an essential part of our, environmental condition, especially they pollinate plants that make plants blossom and grow fruit. And so just, I mean, parallels. That's what I'm trying to absorb in your book, the parallels, and it does pique an interest in the book and acquisition of it too. So please share with us, if you could, a few things that way.
Well, this particular swarm does have parallels with the action and the conflict that Phineas faces during this month. And it's a difficult swarm to deal with, and he and his son face a lot of challenges with it, just like he has challenges in the ICU that month that are difficult to deal with. You mentioned about threats to bees. We do have threats that we have to. Bees are not part of the North American landscape to start with. They were imported with the settlers to the North America. They are what most of us would consider managed livestock. We have to take care of them to keep them going in our apiaries. Apiaries where we keep the name for where we keep bees. So they require dedication and monitoring and testing. And in fact, that's what I'm supposed to do when I leave this meeting today. One of our fellow beekeepers had surgery recently and can't manage her hives, and I'm supposed to go over there and help her with her hives. So I can
Wow.
stay for some questions with the roundtable, but I promise to go somewhere else.
Is there a veterans association for bees? And is it easy to get into? And swarm in May, is that when bees swarm or what?
That's one of the peak months. The reason bees swarm is because the colony becomes very strong and decides it's going to divide into two. And so half of the bees will leave with their queen and set up a new colony, and the remaining half will make a new queen.
Okay, okay.
And so that's why bees swarm. We try to prevent that because our hive is suddenly half as strong as it was, and that's a peak time for making honey. And that's one of the main reasons I keep bees, is because I love to harvest honey from my bees. And so we try to prevent it. Also, people don't like it when a swarm lands on their property. So we try to prevent that from bothering our neighbors.
Oh, okay, okay. So you do the deswarming. You have a process to deswarm bees. And is there a veterans group for bees?
I don't know if there is or not. Every county in general has a beekeeping association. And most of those have programs to get people started, to train them in how to become beekeepers and to support them in their efforts and answer questions. We have a very active group in the county that I live in. We have over 200 members. And so we are constantly out there in the community working with people. And we actually have a swarm patrol that if a swarm lands, we'll go capture it for you so that you don't have to be troubled by it.
Very good, very good. Ramona, please.
Yes. So we are now ready for our roundtable, and I would like the focus of the roundtable is marketing all these